This is the RFID Talks. In this edition, Claire Swedberg, Mark Roberti, and I will talk about Digital Product Passport, the European Union initiative targeting the circular economy till 2050 that will be mandatory in the following years since 2024, few years from now, few days from now. Today is December 15th, right? So companies using RFID integrated with the other technologies like QR codes should leverage their investments on technology to let consumers know about products, track and trace, origin of raw material, and even follow discarded packaging and products after use. After use. My English is very rusty. So, guys, first question is: are companies ready to DDP, considering the ones that already have RFID in the other and the others that do not? Who wants to answer first? Sorry, to respond or to answer, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that works. Respond, yeah. But I'm going to take it, and then Mark will take it away from after me. How about that? And
Yeah.
fill in the spaces. Yeah, so DPP has been interesting to watch. I think we're all getting to a place in our lives and as humanity where we no longer look at the world as being disposable, and the things that we interact with, we just throw it away and forget it. Times are changing, and I think a few generations from now, people won't believe that we just used products, didn't really know what became of them, and off they went into some landfill. So it's a new world with a circular economy, and DPP is leading the way. So I believe that we're starting with some very basic goods like textiles, electronics, car batteries. And the manufacturers of those goods are in the process of getting themselves in place to be tracking not only the products they make, but also the materials that go into those products. It's not exactly a small endeavor. So where they all stand in this process is going to be a pretty wide topic. There's going to be people that really have a lot of work to do to get themselves in gear to meet these mandates. And there's others that have much further along. Maybe they have RFID tags on products. They're using QR codes, tracking products. It's going to be an easier transition for them. And I think we're running across the entire spectrum. But Mark, I want to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, I think that there's a broad range in terms of companies and their preparation. So a lot of the manufacturers of washing machines and large appliances in Europe have had to account for the recycling of their products for years. I mean, that was introduced a few years ago. So, they're already participating in this kind of circular economy where they're responsible for making sure that goods they produce are recycled properly. And then you have, as you said, some of the companies that are using RFID that are, pretty well along and really it's just a matter of improving their systems, improving their software to capture the information they need to comply with the regulations. But I would say the vast majority of companies are not prepared. And that if they're like the U.S., they will probably lobby heavily for these regulations to be delayed. That's what we've seen happen over and over again in the U.S. So California passed a mandate to have chain of custody information on pharmaceutical drugs down to the dose, and that was supposed to come in 5 years ago and still hasn't come in. They just the industry pushed back. Eventually, they relented. Europe's a little bit less likely, I think, than the U.S. to back off. There may be a little bit of lead time given, but I think that there's going to be a lot of pressure on companies to do this. Europe's definitely ahead of the U.S. in terms of the circular economy. So I don't see them backing off completely or pushing this out 10 years. I think it's a real requirement. And companies may say to themselves, QR codes are the answer because the QR code is inexpensive compared to an RFID transponder. The medium is expensive, and one of the things that companies have failed to understand is there's a difference between the medium that carries the information and getting the information off of that medium. So I, heard for many, many years that barcodes are cheaper than RFID. And when I gave speeches, someone would inevitably stand up and say that, RFID is too expensive, barcodes are cheap. And I would say, well, the paper barcode is cheap compared to the RFID transponder, which has a microchip in it and a metal antenna. But we're not talking about the cost of the medium. We're talking about what it costs to get that information. And if barcodes are so cheap, how come retailers don't take inventory every day with barcodes?
Yeah. Sorry, Mark, finish, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the idea, I believe, is that there are different stages in a supply chain. So you need RFID to read things that you cannot have an eye contact with the barcode or the QR code. So, but when you have checkout, for instance, you can use a QR code. Like there are some companies in Brazil that are using, some retail companies that are using RFID to control their inventory, to do all the stuff, including the distribution of products from their CDs to their stores. But when the item is sold, then they use just the QR code to read because it's cheaper in the checkout place to do that. And like we
well,
said,
in the checkout place, you already have the person, right? You're already paying someone, and it's fine. But if you want to, track that T-shirt from the moment it's manufactured, perhaps, in Asia or somewhere, all the way through the supply chain, and you have millions of them, scanning millions of QR codes every day is super expensive. You need an army of people to do that. So the only way that companies are going to be able to comply with these regulations cost effectively will be to use use RFID along with other technologies, QR codes being one of them. But they're going to need good software to do associations, right? So we have a case of product, and we put that product may have QR code on it, and then we associate those QR codes, those IDs, with the case tag, which is an RFID tag, which is put on a pallet, which has an RFID pallet tag on it. When we read the pallet, we know which cases are on it, and we know which QR codes are in each case. So, that kind of tracking makes enormous sense. It's not enormously expensive, but the idea of, putting people at the dock door to scan every case tag that comes in with a QR code scanner is just, is not going to be realistic.
Yeah, Claire, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I just have to agree that I think we've reached a point where we can't talk anymore about just tracking goods with a simple printed code, whether it QR code or barcode. So the question really is, if you've got an RFID tag on your product now, is there any benefit that you can get from also having the QR code so that the consumers have access to that data, or at least some of that data? So that's actually that crossover where we really need to have potentially a hybrid tag. It's easy enough to have an RFID tag with a QR code printed on it, and you now have access to both consumers and the full story of that product all the way through the supply chain.
Yeah, and GS1 is also transitioning from one-dimensional barcodes to two-dimensional barcodes. So that's going to make that process easier, right? So the serial number that's on the RFID tag can be exactly the same as the serial number on the QR code, which you can't have right now with the UPC. So that's going to make this transition a lot easier for most companies. But it is a transition, and companies should be starting early, especially if they are not using RFID to track anything in their supply chain at the moment, because these requirements are data intensive, and collecting managing massive amounts of data is very, very challenging. It's labor intensive if you're not using RFID, and it's challenging to collect and to manage the data, make sure that you've got the right information.
And the idea is to have the circular economy strategy on till 2050 and 2050. And this is something that is not really mature in the world. I believe companies are not ready for that. What do you think about this?
I'm going to say that it would be nice if it was easier for people to access a full solution, and if there was readily available full software, hardware, everything available to get people started with joining up with the DPP efforts. So I know Avery Dennison has a software as a service they're offering for DPP. There's got to be some other efforts in that direction, but I would like to see more of that. I think we could make this easier for companies to actually get on board, especially if they haven't already got an RFID system in place.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely going to be a challenge. I think there are going to be new companies that are going to be popping up to try to manage some of this information for folks, and to manage the recycling of the goods. So I think companies like Avery are ahead of the game. They're out there with a product already, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of manufacturers who are going to suddenly realize that they got to get moving, and they're going to start calling people who have the technology that they're going to need to be able to do this.
I'm not sure if the RFID integrators are ready to help their customers to be able to comply to the DPP. I really don't see that. I believe companies that are integrating RFID nowadays, they are not really, they don't really know how to use QR codes as part of their projects. I don't know if this is very complex for them to to do this step, to go further and be ready to this. But I really don't see people talking about this and trying to make their clients, their customers understand what's DPP or circular economy or this kind of things. Are you seeing that, Claire?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a very ambitious program. Anybody who isn't aware of it or thinking about it, who sells products in Europe or really worldwide in the long term, they're falling behind already. It's not in place yet, but this is going to be a monumental effort. And I hope that the technology companies that can provide and support this effort they're really working on making this straightforward and easy to deploy as much as they can.
Yeah, Mark, you said about Avery Dennison, and Avery is really doing something with the Atima.io and their platform for this.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge leap for companies in the RFID space to do this, because their whole reason for existing is to track unique items, and so whatever the regulations require, whatever information, they should be able to tweak their software to be able to provide that information, because their systems are going to be capturing that data anyway. So I don't think it's a big challenge for the RFID industry. I think it's a big opportunity for them to say to customers, look, you've been looking at this for inventory management, and you're going to get an ROI for that. Now you've got these regulations that are coming in that you have to comply with. So you're doing this anyway, for a business benefit. Let's go and do it now rather than waiting, so that you're ready for DPP and you're going to get a benefit from it. So, I mean, in general, my experience is that companies, particularly U.S. companies, their first reaction to any regulation is, oh, this is going to cost us too much money, we don't want to do this. But I firmly believe that doing RFID to manage your supply chain is going to give you an ROI, and you can comply with the regulations very easily. So I don't think it's going to cost you anything to comply. I think you're actually going to wind up saving some money and probably saving some headaches from recalls or issues in your supply chain.
Yeah, guys, I believe we got a vision of what's going on, but uh, I think we still have to answer what companies must do to be ready for DPP using RFID, because this is very the basis of the technology that is in the basis of everything. So we have to use technology to do that, but how they can start, how they can be ready for DPP or other circular economy initiative. Do you have any
Well,
answer?
I think the manufacturers can be ready by beginning to understand exactly what the law requires, what information they need to collect, and what information they need to store and save, and for how long. And then once this is what we need to provide, then how do we collect that information, and how do we do it in a way that is efficient, low cost, or as low cost as possible, and preferably that delivers some benefit to us. So, if you start planning that now, then you can take a very intelligent, thoughtful, business-centric approach to doing this, to meeting these requirements. If you wait till the last minute, then you're going to scramble. You're going to just put something in place that meets the requirements but doesn't give you any business benefit, or gives you very little business benefit. And you may also find that there aren't any service providers available because they've already been engaged by people months before you or a year before you. So it makes sense to start early, to think about what you're going to need to do, talk to solution providers, systems integrators who know RFID, talk to more than one of them, and ask them for a plan or a proposal. What would it cost for us to comply with this?
And Claire and Mark, if you want to do questions, time for it.
Well, yeah. Did you, Edson, did you have any thoughts on, actually, I'm going to ask you this. What about the systems integrators themselves? What can they be doing, do you think, to meet this need, trying to not only educate, but provide manageable solutions for their customers?
I believe I think, like Mark said, the idea is to have the solutions like they are implementing now. If they keep doing what they are supposed to do, that what is track and trace products, control inventory, and make something more, going to, for instance, use the technology to know which products are being sold more than others. And I believe if they go, still keep going this way, they will find a way to do more. And the more is uh, use, for instance, the QR codes that GS1 is offering, that has the unique identification, and then you can use the same data you have for RFID in a QR code, and give your customer, your end consumer, a way to know about the product, and also know how to use that, and also how to discard. And I don't think it's more complex than that. It seems to be easy. It's not very easy. We know that. We know that there is a lot of gaps, and there are lots of gaps, and people must correct things, and do better things that they are not doing very well now. But I believe this way will let them go to the end of the story, that is the DPP or the circular economy here in Brazil. we started with the Política Nacional de Resíduos Sólidos, which is the first law in the world that ruled about the how to discard products. For in this case here in Brazil was for electronic devices. So I believe we can. Regulatory is something that we have to talk uh, one time or more because this is something that will always change the way companies do their investment and also the companies will implement. But I believe if they keep going this way, they will find the the doors to open and find these solutions. Don't you think, Mark?
I do, and I think that again, I'm a big proponent of people starting early when they need to make major changes to their supply chain or their supply chain technologies. Dr. Bill Hargrave, who founded the Auburn University RFID lab, is now president of Memphis University. He used to give a presentation and talked about retail, and he said, getting inventory accuracy is the foundation on which you build, and then from there you can improve your merchandising. You can have in-store displays that when you pick up something, the RFID tag is red, and displays show, and you improve the customer experience. But he always stressed that you have to build on good inventory accuracy. And I think the same thing applies here for this initiative, right? If I have really good information about everything coming into my factory and everything leaving my factory and everything going to my warehouse and then leaving my warehouse, this complying with this law will be relatively easy and painless. Plus, you'll be able to build on that foundation that allows you to comply with the regulations. You'll be able to build new things that you can do, new capabilities that you didn't have before. For example, providing information to your customers about the state things are in work, the work in process, right? They can see into your factory what is happening. That is that component that I need tomorrow, finished, or is it still at the beginning of the process? And so you bind yourself to your customer by providing better information. So there's a lot of things that companies can do. But I would say start early, and I would encourage companies, don't think of this as a cost. Think of it as an opportunity to cut costs, to improve your supply chain, and improve your relationship with your customers.
And Mark, what's your question for Claire?
What's the meaning of life?
RFID is the solution. That's all I know.
Okay, good.
I would say this. Oh, go
I have
ahead.
a question
Ask
for
the
Claire.
question.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So Claire, do you think that blockchain will have a role to play in this, in companies complying with DPP?
I can't imagine it wouldn't. Blockchain is something that's not going away. It's solving problems in other industries as well. If we don't have a place where a repository and sharing and storing data that's immutable, as they say, if we don't have that, I don't see how this can really become a universally expandable process. So yes, I think blockchain is going to be central to how this data is managed and stored. So yes, that's what I would say. I don't know if the two of you agree with that.
I definitely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I believe so.
I want to make one other quick point. As a journalist, I can't help but say this. When we talk about how this is all going to succeed and how companies are going to enter the DPP mandate smoothly with, say, RFID technology, it sure would help if they keep in mind the cooperation and communication of what they're doing. All too often, I run into companies that say, "Yes, we are doing this, but we don't want to share that information. That's our special guarded
Oh,
secret.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
yes, I totally agree, and I think it's foolish for companies to do that, because the easier it becomes for everybody to do this, the better everybody is better off, right? So if you talk about what you're doing and how you did it and what you need from the RFID suppliers in order to get this, it helps the industry move forward. It helps others provide solutions. It helps others get on board. And really, there's not, as far as I can tell, any competitive advantage to applying, to complying with regulation. Everybody has to do it. It may cost your competitors a little more. They may be a little slower or whatever. But as a consumer, I'm not buying Nike sneakers over Adidas sneakers because Nike complied with DPP faster than Adidas did. That's absurd, right? I buy it for lots of other reasons. I choose which athletic shoe I want to wear. So I think it's foolish for companies to do that. They should talk about what they're doing. They should get it out there. It sends a message to other companies that this is doable, and therefore others won't be as afraid to jump on board and use RFID to solve these problems.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you believe we covered everything in this area? Or yeah,
We got it. I think we covered it.
yeah, guys, this is very very nice to have you. And I saw the RFID talks, the first one, 100 times, I believe. It was very good. I believe people will learn a lot with our conversation.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, Edson.
So, guys, see you in January.
Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Yeah. Have a great New Year, and we'll do it again in January.
Okay. See you guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.